So we'll call the public safety meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard,
Present.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Present.
Alderman Muhammad,
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
She's excused.
Chairman Vaquero.
President.
Six present, you have quorum.
Thank you. So we did roll call. We did the excused Alderman. So now we need the approval of the minutes from the November 19th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes dated November 19th, 2020.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Chairman Vaquero.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
Okay, so we have in front of us Board Bill number 166, introduced by our Vice Chairman, Jeffrey Boyd, pertaining to the excise laws. Jeff, why don't you go ahead and explain what you got?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 166 is actually a board bill that's long overdue. It will kind of fix a system that I think in my mind has been kind of archaic for many, many years. It will open an opportunity for people who had felonies, let's say, for example, 20 years ago, who are now model citizens, will provide them an opportunity to be employed at different establishments that serve alcohol. What I like to do, because it's not a huge summary, it's just kind of read you a summary of the changes proposed to the current ordinance, and then invite participants to kind of talk about why they feel that this is a good bill and how it can help out the industry. So section 14.06.100, the prohibition on licensing persons convicted of violating any provision of state or federal law making it a felony to use, possess, or sell a controlled substance is repealed. So then section 14.06.100 is to be amended to allow the excise commissioner at their reasonable discretion to require applicants to submit to fingerprint-based criminal background checks. Section 14.06.210, the prohibitions on licensing persons who have been convicted of any state or federal statute making it a felony to use, possess, or sell a controlled substance, and persons who have been convicted of a felony unrelated to the manufacture or sale of liquor is repealed. Section 14.06.220, the requirement that licensees require employees to be fingerprinted when deemed necessary by the excise commissioner is repealed. Section 14.06240 is to be amended to place the responsibility for ensuring licensees' employees undergo criminal background checks on the licensees. Okay. I think it's a pretty simple, common sense type bill that provides, more opportunities, especially for people in the community that I serve, to be employed and make a livable wage. It's certainly our goal to bring down, crime and to kind of help them get out of the cycle of poverty. So in a nutshell, that's my proposal with Board Bill 166, amending Ordinance 68536. And with that, I'll take any questions from the committee, Mr. Chairman.
And unmute myself. So Alderwoman Howard, any questions on Board Bill 166?
I do have a question, and it's very specific, and I'm looking for the line. I was going through this. A COL, what is that? It's initialed in there. It's a license. I'm trying to find the line where it was. It's on page 7, line 15. All persons, it's crossed out, but it's in there also. It's repeated in there. COL, to whom a drink COL or package license.
Right, and I'm having a brain cramp. Miles, can you remind us what COL in the ordinance stands for, the acronym? And I hate acronyms.
Yeah, it's consumption of liquor.
Okay, consumption of liquor. So that would be like a tavern, I guess, where they
No,
consume liquor.
no. Tavern has to get a full drink license. COL would be maybe somebody that doesn't have a full drink license, but people would be allowed to bring liquor in and consume.
Oh, okay. So in other words, okay, that's really an archaic designation. Do people even apply for those if they allow people to bring liquor in?
Yeah, it's a state license, and the city kind of mirrors all this.
Okay.
It's pretty common.
I just would like that to be spelled out because I think that's significant. If we could make that change within here to at least one time or in a definition, consumption of liquor. Because I like you said, I'm not really big on acronyms, and this is out of my realm of knowledge. And I think that, not everybody might be familiar with that. I think it would be good if we define that consumption of liquor and maybe have a definition of it, if that's okay.
That is quite okay. I'm wondering if I don't see our legal counsel on the call. I'm wondering if we can just spell that out. Okay, but can we just spell that out in the bill without doing an amendment, or will we have to amend the bill to do that? And by the way, maybe it's spelled out already in this 57 page.
I kind of, that's what I was looking for.
It may be spelled out in the code section. That's what I'm looking through right now.
We can always call it a Scrivener's error and just write it in. I don't think we have to amend it.
Well, we can't just call it that. And
if it's not,
I think you could probably at the end of it just put an addendum and incorporate it by reference to the entire.
Yeah, that's really weird. I'm not finding it spelled out in the original ordinance. Okay.
Alderman, I can do an amendment if that's how you want to proceed with that. Just let me know.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because I want to get this done today, if possible. Hopefully, it wasn't. And we don't actually have it. We don't actually have to have it written if the committee would agree that. Where will we place that?
I guess, if there was a section for definitions, which I don't see one.
Yeah. What is your recommendation, Mr. Golly?
My recommendation would be to use it use the full name at the first instance where COL is used, and then allow the abbreviation thereafter.
So where would we insert that?
So that would be the first instance on the page. Hold on, I'm having difficulty pulling up the actual text here.
And
come on.
If you look at the old bill, possibly in 14.01.060, it might be in there, but I think we need to have it at least named one time within the body of the new, and then maybe parentheses COL.
Yeah. In the board bill, the first occurrence I see it's being deleted in other sections. In the first section I see on page 6, the first line is where it's referenced. Otherwise, it's included where language is being deleted. While you're looking for that, we'll come back to you if that's okay.
That's fine. I'm finished. That's all. The only question. The only thing I had to say. So just for clarity, because I would rather have it done now than have it hung up in another committee. So okay,
Sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Alderwoman Tamika Hubbard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I have a few questions just to make sure I'm clear on it. So basically what this does, it does it permit convicted felons or whomever the ability to obtain a license and work at a drinking establishment? Is that what this does?
No, it's to allow them to be employed.
Oh, so they
To work.
can't obtain a license, but they can work. Okay.
Right. Like currently right now, if, you know, Schnooks, for example, which would be testifying, they could not hire somebody that, you know, had what's to now maybe a low level drug offense selling marijuana because it's a felony on their record. They could not be employed by Schnooks.
Okay.
But Schnooks sells liquor.
Okay.
But they also sell
so
so much else.
okay. But so if a person is an offender and they're under supervision, their conditions may still prohibit them from working in a drinking establishment. But as a city, it won't be something that will prohibit. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if they're currently under supervision to prohibit them from doing it, they wouldn't be able to work.
Right.
If they're currently.
But our rules will allow it on our end. I just want to make sure I'm clear.
No. If they're under current supervision.
I understand that part, but I'm saying, but if they are not, then
gotcha.
in the past they couldn't,
Right.
they could not, but we're saying that they can.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, Madam Clerk, can you please add me as a co-sponsor as well? And that's all the questions that I have.
Will do.
And you could, well, anyway, Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
I guess my question, because I keep hearing you refer to Schnooks, but so other establishments like long-term care facilities and that, will they be able to hire people?
No, this
So
is
it's just for
specific to.
grocers?
No, this is specific to excise. And it's not just it could be, you know, the local liquor store. I mean, it's not specific to, you know, retail grocery stores.
Okay.
It would apply to anybody who sells alcohol.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. You can add me as a co-sponsor.
And again, what's important is the excise commissioner at his discretion could require, you know, the checks and view them him or herself.
Okay. But I guess and so it's for liquor stores, grocery stores, convenience stores, anybody that has liquor.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. See, so did I skip John somewhere? I'm sorry. You know what? I'm sorry. Alderman Muhammad, I apologize. For some reason, I was just thinking of Pam. She's in the weeds there, and I missed. Alderman Muhammad, I'm sorry. Do you have any questions? I think he's still with us, but I don't know.
I see him. He's on mute.
Okay. I don't see his picture. Alderman Muhammad, you're on mute, I think. I guess we'll come back to, and I really don't have a question. I did get an email that says, does COL impact a restaurant that does not have a liquor license, but is allowing patrons to bring their own liquor, alcohol in to consume with their meal?
Well, I don't think if you can't do BYOBs is my understanding illegal. So no establishment should be allowing somebody to bring in alcohol unless they have a BYOB license. And I would defer to Miles to correct me if I'm wrong in anything I've said thus far. Miles.
The Alderman, the COL, the consumption of liquor license is the BYOB license.
Okay.
A restaurant can allow you to bring in, then they do not have to have a retail by drink license. As long as they have a consumption of liquor license, you can allow patrons to bring the alcohol in, and they can charge, if it's about like a bottle of wine, they can charge a cartridge fee for it. And it's set up for a place that would not have a retail by drink liquor license. And as I pointed out before, it's more prevalent in the rural areas than it is in the urban areas.
I know of places that have a corking fee, so so this does not affect them though, right? They could still do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
As long as they have a COL license.
Now that's interesting, Miles. Do we have established restaurants like that in the city of St. Louis? I know you said it's more prevalent in rural, but
I can't think of any, Alderman Boyd that I'm aware of.
wow. Yeah, I'm just thinking
I tell you where
you go through the same process to get a COL that you would to get a drink license.
right. In the rural areas, why it's prevalent is in some counties in the state of Missouri. I don't believe they have any anymore, but in some counties, they had dry counties. When I first started with the state, they had some dry counties. They could not, sell a mixed drink in a restaurant. So that's when they would get the COL license and allow the people to bring in alcohol.
Are you still here?
We don't have it in the city though.
Gotcha. Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Well, yeah, I was trying to text John or Alderman Muhammad, and I'm sorry, I'm used to calling everybody by their names. Alderman Muhammad, did you have any questions? I know you were muted. We were trying to find you here. I think he may have lost his connection because I don't even see him on the. I don't see him on the list.
He's on the frame here.
Is he?
I see his name, but he's got his camera cut off.
Okay.
And he's not muted, as it doesn't look like he's muted, so I don't know.
Well,
okay.
I think what we'll do, Vice Chairman Boyd, I can tell you by whatever, you have the votes to pass this. Do your speakers still want to speak?
No, I still want the speakers to speak,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then, and I have the order of the speakers in front of me, but you can pick whatever order you want.
Thank you. Also, I want to point out that ordinance, what are we doing? The ordinance that we're modifying, ordinance 68536. In chapter 14 on it's 14.01.060, it doesn't spell out COL, but it talks about what the term is. It's a definition for the term. Still strange it doesn't spell it out, but it says the term COL shall mean a license that permits the consumption of intoxicating liquor and non-intoxicating beer on any premises where food, beverages, or entertainment are sold or provided for compensation. There's a little more to that, but it is a definition for it, although the acronym is not spelled out. So however we want to fix it at the end of the testimony is fine with me. The first person I would like to call up is Mr. Leroy Grant. And forgive me, I don't remember, I don't want to misstep and say the wrong entity that you're representing. So if you could just, state your name and the entity you're representing and go on from there, just testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thank you for allowing me to participate today. I'm here today representing On the Run, which is located on Hampton and is part of a convenience store chain that's operated by Wallace Petroleum. We really have no objections to this bill, but there are some things that I would like a little clarification on, if you don't mind. And maybe Mr. McDonald can answer these. Right now, criminal background checks, I understand, are to be conducted by the Missouri Highway Patrol only. I think in this new bill, criminal background checks can be conducted now by St. Louis Police Department as well as St. Louis County Police Department. Is that correct, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, my understanding, Mr. Reed.
Okay. The second thing that I have is that in the past, I understand that if a third party conducted background checks through the Missouri Highway Patrol, they were not allowable. Instead, the licensee had to actually contact the highway department on their own and get the background checks that way. Now, Ms. McDonald, is it okay for third parties to conduct those background checks on behalf of the licensee and have those submitted in order to obtain a license?
It depends who the third party would be, Mr. Green. I don't have a problem with it if it's somebody that does them all the time and actually is capable of getting them.
Okay, all right. I think those are the only questions that I had, and I think that's fine. Otherwise, as I said before, we really have no objections to the bill and think it makes it easier to obtain licenses. It can be a pretty cumbersome process, and I think this will help to streamline it in some manner. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Next participant is Mr. Jed Penny, representing Schnooks, not to be confused with Big Money.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Boyd, Chairman Vaccaro, members of the committee. Thanks so much for the opportunity to allow Schnooks to rise in support of this bill. Just a little bit from our experience. We have a few stores in the city and quite a few more outside the city. Almost 2 years ago now, the state of Missouri amended a similar state law and regulation regarding the employment of convicted felons. And it really enabled a swath of the employable universe to actually obtain meaningful employment at Schnooks. Under the pre-existing bills throughout the state of Missouri, or the pre-existing law, there were only a few small, there's a very narrow tranche of jobs that didn't involve in some way the marketing and sale of alcohol in our stores, just because of the way that is integrated into the overall operation. So what we have found since that law changed is that now folks who happen to have felony convictions that may be from, as Alderman Boyd indicated, perhaps it was a drug charge from a long time ago. It could be even a possession of some drug other than marijuana in any amount is a felony or can result in a felony in the state of Missouri. We often see people who have felonies for back child support, which, that's directly contrary to public policy to deny employment to someone who needs that employment to support their children. So we think that it will continue to allow an expanded opportunity if we mirror somewhat what the rest of the state has done here in the city of St. Louis, and it will allow us to invest in part of the community that has not been able to obtain meaningful employment. We still are going to do background checks on every single person that we hire. That's not required of us necessarily by law, but we do that, and we will agree to make those background checks available to Mr. McDonald or the excise, whoever the excise tax commissioner may be, upon request. And I think that's written into this draft of the law. So we totally support that. We'll be happy to entertain any questions the committee members may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penny. Our last presenter is Mr. Mike Frame, representing the industry. Mr. Frame.
Good morning, and thank you, Vice Chairman Boyd, Chairman Vaccaro, and esteemed members of the committee. Michael Frame here, representing UFCW Local 655, and our president, David Cook. Unfortunately, President Cook couldn't be here today. He's negotiating with hopefully a new city union pharmacy, but he wanted me to tell you that he strongly supports Board Bill 166 because it increases employment potential for all city residents with nonviolent felony convictions who seek to work in retail and wholesale establishments which are licensed to sell alcoholic beverages. But more specifically, it empowers those city residents to increase employment potential in a work environment where they can be protected by a collective bargaining agreement, obtain real healthcare coverage, and a sound pension, i.e. our union grocery stores. Thank you, and I stand available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Frame. Mr. Chairman, that concludes panelists, people testifying for the bill. I'm not aware of anybody who's been opposed to the bill. Again, I think it's a good bill. It's about time that we did something like this to give more people an opportunity to be employed. I really like what Mr. Penny said. I mean, it makes no sense that someone who didn't pay child support has a felony, and now we limit, access to their employment. I mean, it just makes no, it's illogical. So unless committee members have any more questions for me, I'll entertain that.
Well, I'm just curious, have we addressed Alderwoman Howard's issue? I mean, so it is sort of spelled out in there. Alderman Howard, are you fine with the way it is, or would you want us to amend it?
I would suggest that at least in the first mention of that, you would have, COL, and then maybe in,
Parentheses, what it means.
Parentheses, COL. I think that would be enough, just because I just think that it would ensure that a smooth passage all the way around. So.
Let me make this recommendation. In the section where it's defined, if the legal counsel could just create an amendment real quick that spells it out in the definitions, I think that would probably be a more appropriate place to put it. So we would just need to amend this bill. Mr. Clerk, not clerk, Mr. Counsel, Mr. Golly, help me out.
I'm here. I'm having trouble with my cursor here, unmuting and muting though. So I am going back and looking for that section. I had just was sending you an amendment, but we can do it this way as well. So
yeah, the section, oops, I just had it. The section is 14.01.060.
All right, I will prepare something then and send it to you, Mr. Chairman, and the clerk.
Okay, actually, unless there's an objection, we can, if you prepared and you could just share it on the screen, that should be good enough.
All right, then let me do this, and I will get back to you guys in just a moment. All right.
Okay, and that shouldn't take him very long. So, Mr. Chairman, if there are committee members that want to have ask questions of the panelists, people who have testified, surely that's,
And Alderman Muhammad's back, but I had texted him. I don't think he had any questions, but
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. I support Board Bill 166, and I would ask that my name be added as a co-sponsor.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I had my name also, please. Alderwoman Howard as a co-sponsor.
So you can add me, but do you want to just do it in bank in the committee? Do we have a motion to do it in bank out of the committee?
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pass Board Bill 166 out of the Committee on Public Safety in bank with a due pass recommendation.
Hold up.
Not so fast.
We have to, there's an amendment. It's just spelling out what COL means.
Yeah. Let me ask Mr. Penny a question, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no, let's just leave it open.
Yeah. So Mr. Penny, about how many people you think per year are turned away that's applying for employment with Schnucks?
I have that number in front of me, but it's not insignificant. In the 8 stores that we have in the city, we really, if someone applies with a prohibitive felony, then we have to locate a position in the store that does not touch alcohol. And again, you're pretty much looking at our deli, our produce, and perhaps in the meat department. And those are, maybe 30% of the jobs in the store. So you've cut out 70% of the available jobs for people to work in those stores. So oftentimes what we find is when we try to place someone, there may be a waiting period, and then they lose interest and either don't succeed in gaining employment with us. They may find it elsewhere. They may just be discouraged and move away. So that's.
Can I speak to Ms. Robinson, please?
Do you know how many people
this is
employed? Alderwoman Pam Boyd. There you go. Do you know about approximately how many people are employed in the city of St. Louis by Schnucks? Mr. Penny,
Is that for me, Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Penny.
Yes. So we're somewhere around 2,000 employees in the city.
Wow. And how many stores?
8 stores.
8 stores. And for the record, one of them is in my ward, Union and Natural Bridge, which just got renovated a year ago, over $1 million of renovations. It looks a lot better, looks a lot friendlier, easier to navigate. So thank you for the investment in our community with your store. Appreciate that.
We continue to be committed to the city of St. Louis.
Mr. Grant, I would pose the same question to you about how many people are employed with On the Run in the city of St. Louis.
I don't have that exact number, Mr. Vice Chairman, but I would think that it's probably somewhere between 30 and 40.
30 and 40.
It's just one store only.
Yes,
okay.
We have only one store in the city.
That's not bad for one store. Imagine if you had 10.
Yeah, it would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Mr. Frame, how many people are in your union that works at the retail grocery in the city of St. Louis? Any idea? And what is their average wage?
I believe it's about 1,500. We don't take in the meat cutters over there in the meat department, but the rest of the store, minus the deli as well. So I think it's right around 1,500 members in the city. And average wage, I probably would yield to Mr. Penny. I can't, with all the compensation involved, not only their wages, but holidays, sick days, healthcare, pension, all those things. It's quite extensive.
I have a text question for Miles, I assume. It says, does the bill change the licensing process? And how about the tasting permit on page 15 under 14.01.280D?
No, that all remained the same.
Oh, stays the same. Okay. Does our attorney have that ready yet? Or can we just verbally agree to the amendment, or we have to have it in writing? Vice Chairman Boyd, I guess I'm asking you that.
Just a moment.
Yeah, if any of the aldermen
Okay.
have any questions, please just jump in.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was talking to council, trying to get this amendment done. She's gonna need a few more minutes. It wasn't as simple as just clarifying it at one section, unfortunately. But he should have that done shortly. He's coordinating with the with Mr. Clerk as far as the proper protocol as well. So
okay, that's fine. Does any of the other aldermen, I can go down the list, but we just got our mics open, including the speakers. The mics will all just stay open. So if anybody has questions, I don't know that we have to be that formal. We're just basically waiting.
I I have a quick question for Mr. McDonald, if you don't mind. On page 6 of 7, page 6, line D, where the Excise Commissioner may require licensed applicants to submit a fingerprint based on criminal background check. Well, can you kind of explain that a little bit more, Mr. McDonald, how that would work?
Yeah, if you suspect that the person, I brought that up when this bill first came up some years ago when I was with the state. There was a gentleman wanted to apply for a liquor license, and the state did not require fingerprints. The city did, and they required him to get fingerprints. He backed right off of it, and I got a call from the FBI agent wanting to know why he was being singled out for this. And the more I talked to the FBI agent, he finally came clean. The guy was in the witness protection program. Unbelievable. Patriarchal crime family. I mean, it doesn't happen every day, but it certainly can happen.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we also have aldermen that are not on the committee, and Alderwoman Howard reminded me of that because I don't see the pictures. If any alderman wants to jump in with questions, please just jump in. I see Alderwoman Davis. Do you have questions or maybe answers?
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind,
No,
I just wanted to make a comment. This is long overdue. As we know, we have so many people who have had challenges in their lives, but they've turned their lives around. As this city is trying to grow and become, most especially St. Louis, to become a convention town, you're going to have so many businesses that people can get good jobs at. But this would, if they had that old stipulation, they couldn't be hired. So I thank the sponsor of this bill. I also thank the Schnucks proprietors for making sure that this was heard at a higher level. And I know that our excise commissioner, with his extensive background on the state level as well as local, would not lead us in the wrong direction. But I just say again, thank you, and I appreciate it.
And I see that Alderman Gunther's out there. I don't know if he has any, if he wanted to jump in. There you are. Any questions, comments?
Nothing at this point. I am a little bit curious about the part where it says that it's at the excise commissioner's discretion as to who gets tested. So I'm going to read a little more about the bill and have that probably for the committee or for the full board hearing.
Well, actually, if you can ask the commissioner now, it would probably be more helpful if there's something we need to do to tweak it before it hits the floor. I certainly would appreciate that, Alderman Gunther. I mean,
all right. So, Commissioner Miles, so at your discretion, so how does that play out? Some establishment like a bar that is hiring, you'll get to choose if they have a background check?
No, the way the board bill is set up, I believe, the applicant would automatically get the background check. The employee is not necessarily.
So you said that the applicant?
It's a case-by-case basis. All the applicants would get a background check.
And so I guess then my follow-up to that, so then now it becomes the cost associated with that is bore upon the applicant to be able to do their own background check versus the establishment paying for it?
Yes.
Do you know what the cost is associated with doing your own background checks?
Let me make sure I'm clear. Miles, we're not saying the applicant is Schnucks, for example. The applicant is not Jeffrey Boyd or Dan Gunther, the potential employee. Let's make sure we're clear about that.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair. That's why I'm trying to clear up here.
Yeah. Right,
And
Miles,
that's
the
why.
applicant is the
Well,
establishment.
You have to have a human being that is a face of the applicant, if it's a corporate applicant or some kind of a business organization. You have to have a managing officer. There would be a record check on that particular one. They would stand in the shoes of the applicant. Somebody has to be responsible for the license.
Let me ask this question. Mr. Penny, annually, how many record checks do you send to the Excise Commission?
Well, the existing law requires that at the close of a month, that all new applicants have to have a list of the of those new applicants and their background checks sent to the excise tax commissioner. That's one of the more burdensome aspects of the current law, is to do that on a monthly basis. And the law, the current board ordinance does not say, it does not make any distinction between whether the person has a qualifying felony or not. So it is a rather burdensome administrative process.
And Alderman Gunther, I think it's important that the Excise Commission, we need that language at the discretion, because if there is an entity that, is not a friendly to the neighborhood establishment, then, and maybe they have employees that get into fights or what have you with people, I think it would be wise to actually see the background checks on people and make that requirement. That is the intent on my part. Is that clarified a little bit better for you?
Kind of. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out exactly how, if someone such as Schnucks or On the Run that are larger employers, it may be at the excise commissioner's discretion not to require background checks, but if you have a local bar that he may say, no, I want background checks for a local bar. So I'm just trying to figure out like how this might, how he at his discretion is going to be determined. So
yeah, and that's not to suggest that just because you're a big, in my mind, you're a big establishment like Schnucks, that, for example, if there were a lot of problems at Union and Natural Bridge at City Plaza of Schnucks, there's a lot of drama up there. I would, hope that the excise commissioner would want to, come down a little more firmly on Schnucks and say, hey, look, we just have too many issues with your employees getting into fights with customers, whatever, and we want to require you to submit background checks on your employees. I could see that as a scenario. So I don't think it's just because you are a large establishment that you have some special privilege. I think the excise commissioner's discretion would apply broadly to everybody. And we would have to have trust and confidence in the fidelity of how the excise commissioner carries out his or her duties.
I can tell you, I'm extremely forgiving of people. I'm very liberal in my approach. I give these qualification hearings with people that are currently convicted felons. And I can't tell you the last time I turned somebody down and told them that they could not work on a licensed liquor establishment. That is depriving people of livelihood. And it's something that I'm not comfortable doing. So I'm pretty open to whatever proposals people have that makes sense. And I've never had one of them. I haven't been here that long. I've been here over 3 years. I haven't had one of them bounce back.
Alderman Boyd, I have a comment that may address Alderman Gunther's question. Our reading of the amended board bill will still require us to perform or require background checks, because there's still that requirement in there for you can't employ a felon who has an alcohol related offense. So if someone had done something that was some sort of a trafficking in illegal alcohol or something like that, so we still have to do the background check. We have other reasons for doing it. We're exposed to the public, and so there's certain offenses, registered sex offenders or something like that we couldn't have facing the public. So there's other reasons to do them as well. But I don't think that there's a person that will be hired at Schnucks that won't undergo a background check, both for excise tax purposes as well as for overall HR purposes. And I suspect that will be the case for most operators as well. They'll just have to maintain those background checks in a personnel file, so that if Mr. McDonald needs to see them, they'll be available.
Okay, thank you. That's kind of where I was trying to clarify that. So,
And thank you so much, and I
thank you,
appreciate
Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate your comments, Alderman Gunther. Mr. Chairman, I also see Alderwoman Grass on in attendance. Would you mind if she asks questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Any of the aldermen that are out there, please just jump in. Alderman Grass, she goes by Alderman Grass.
Thank you for the offer. I have no questions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just leaving it all open, right now while we're still waiting, rather than adjourn and come back, or take a break and come back. I thought maybe we just, we could take a break if we need to.
Mr. Chairman, Madam Clerk, you have something to offer?
Yes, I can share my screen. Lou had emailed me the amendment, and I also emailed him with the committee. So let me see.
Okay. Well, please do that.
You on mute, Madam Clerk.
Okay, I'm still trying to figure it out. Give me just a second. I thought it was just as simple as sharing this screen.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, do you all see it?
No.
No.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, so this is the amendment that's been proposed. So the amendment is to amend Board Bill page 6, line 1 as follows. Beginning on page 6, line 1, strike out the word COL and insert in lieu thereof to read, in the words and figures as follows: consumption of liquor, parentheses, quotation mark, COL, licensee. Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to adopt amendment number 1 to Board Bill 166.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll. There we go.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Chairman Vaquero.
Aye.
6 ayes vote.
So we've adopted the amendment. Now let's take a vote on the Board Bill 166 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Wait a minute.
No, okay, hold on, I'm sorry.
We need to make a motion.
Oh,
I'd
okay.
like to make a motion that we pass Board Bill 166 as amended out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous row.
Very good. And I think earlier, Alderman Muhammad made a motion that we do this, pass it out in bank. Is there any objection to doing it in bank?
For the record, Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear any objections to previous rows, so that means the
Right.
bill passes out of committee, correct?
It did pass out of committee, yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we clarified that before we move on to Alderman Muhammad's.
No, it passed and passed unanimously.
Okay.
And one by one, we all added our name anyway, but I don't think anyone did not add their name.
The only person I did have was Alderwoman Hubbard from the committee.
And she's not here, so maybe it might be appropriate.
Alderwoman. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. She did say she wanted her. name.
Yeah, I added my name.
I got you. You was the first one.
Okay, okay, thank you.
The only one and she's excused today.
Okay.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. So maybe we've all added our name.
Well, we're good now.
And then Alderwoman Davis has to add her name.
Yeah, thank you.
So having passed that and having no other business that I know of, we can make a motion to adjourn the meeting and maybe I'll go out and have a.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.